Yes. Yes. Welcome, everyone. Cannabis News with Joe Klare is August 17th, 2018. The show, as always, is presented by the Marijuana Times. Go check us out at marijuanatimes.org. Bunch of great articles, great writers, social media network links, and, of course, if you click the video tab at marijuanatimes.org, you will find this show. And why wouldn't you want to find this show? It is quite awesome. You found it today, so that's half the battle. Wherever you found it today, keep going back. You have to go to marijuanatimes.org if you want to. YouTube, Vimeo, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Search Marijuana Times on all those platforms, and you can find the show. Today we're talking about researchers in Spain and something they figured out with an espresso machine. It's quite interesting stuff. Also, a lawsuit to block the medical marijuana measure in Utah. Man, I don't think I've ever quite seen, in recent times especially, the ferocious, vociferous opposition to a medical marijuana initiative, the way that it is coming about in Utah. It's crazy. Also, the Marijuana Policy Project has a new director. We'll talk about all that coming up. But of course, first, I have to tell you the cannabis news is brought to you by Nature Side and their organic, all-natural pesticides. Check out nature-side.com. Side is spelled C-I-D-E. Don't use harmful chemicals. Grow safe and poison-free. And make sure you're regulatory compliant in the state that you're growing in. Use safe pesticides and pest repellents and all that stuff. You got to go to Nature Side. Go check it out. Nature-side.com. Side is spelled C-I-D-E. C-I-D-E. That's a proud sponsor of Cannabis News. His first story from marijuanatimes.org from Jason Sander. Researchers use Espresso machine as a cannabis extraction device. Yes, that's right. You heard me correctly. A team of researchers in Spain recently discovered that a hard cap espresso machine has the ability to produce cannabis extracts. The study is called, quote, Fast Extraction of Cannabinoids in Marijuana Samples by Using Hard Cap Espresso Machines. A long title, but to the point. And is to be published in the International Journal of Pure and Applied Analytical Chemistry, that very popular journal. I gotta tell you, reading all these stories and seeing all the different journals there are for this type of research, and all kinds of different types of research. I've seen 80 different periodicals mentioned in stories like this when it comes to cannabis research and things that are going on. It's crazy. The International Journal of Pure and Applied Analytical Chemistry. I didn't know that existed. I had no idea. But now I do. The cannabis extracts were produced using a common solvent found in laboratories and an espresso machine, which costs around $300. The extracts are not intended for human consumption, but rather for analysis. The study was done at the University of Valencia in Spain using cannabis that had been confiscated by police. It's been evidence that the developed method for the major cannabinoids extraction is a really encouraging example of the wide range of possibilities that a conventional and low-cost hard cap espresso-assisted extraction could offer in analytical laboratories, according to the study. Also, according to the study, the researchers produced extractions of THC, CBD, and CBN in the espresso machine in a laboratory solvent called 2-propanol. The researchers then compared their espresso extraction method to techniques that are currently more commonly used in the cannabis industry. And they found out that they were similar in quality, but it was much more cost-effective and quicker to produce. As Jason mentions in the story, however, don't run home to your espresso machine and pack a bunch of weed in it and then try to make extracts and buy some 2-propanol. This is in a controlled, scientific, study, researcher environment. Don't try to do this at home. Don't try to make cannabis extracts with your espresso machine. Wait till they've figured it out. Let them work on it a little bit. And then one day they'll make an espresso machine expressly for this purpose. And you just be able to go to Walmart and buy it for $85 and it'll be awesome. Just calm down now. I know a lot of you halfway through that story already had an eighth of weed packed in your espresso machine. Calm down. Do not try this at home. Period. There you go. Disclaimer given. Catastrophe hopefully averted. This next story from Fox 13 Now. In Utah, lawsuit to block medical marijuana initiative claims measure violates Mormons' religious freedom. That's right. People using marijuana violates Mormons' religious freedom. I know what you're saying. You're saying, Joe, that sounds nuts. That sounds nuts. Who would say such a thing? Well, I'll tell you, Walter Plum III. He filed a lawsuit this week. He leads the Coalition for a safe and healthy Utah. He's trying to stop Lieutenant Governor Spencer Cox from putting the medical marijuana ballot initiative before voters. It's the second lawsuit of its kind seeking to block Proposition 2. Here's some of his interesting thoughts. They interviewed this guy, of course. I was going to call him a nutbag. I'll refrain judgment. I'll read you what he said, and then you can decide whether or not he's a nutbag. He said, the United States of America, members of our religions, including the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a.k.a. the Mormon religion, have a constitutional right to exercise their religious beliefs. This includes the right not to consort with, be around, or do business with people engaging in activities which their religion finds repugnant, and to refuse to lease their property to people engaging in activities which they deeply oppose. So let's take the first part of that. They have a right to not consort with, be around, or do business with people engaging in activities which their religion finds repugnant. Absolutely. Absolutely. And somebody smoking marijuana doesn't infringe on that. Now, what this guy is getting at is apartment buildings. If you lease an apartment building, he wants you to be able to say no whole plant medical marijuana in this apartment building. That's a whole other thing. I mean, if someone owns the property and they don't want you using marijuana on their property, I mean, I really don't see a way around that. It sucks for people who rent and need medical marijuana, and there'll be, counter lawsuits claiming discrimination, and that'll work its way through the courts. All that's probably going to happen. But it gets even better with this guy. Because he assumes that medical marijuana being legal somehow violates his religious freedoms. First of all, your religious freedoms are, as he just said, you don't have to consort with people who you don't want to. You don't have to associate with people you don't want to. But furthermore, you are free to practice your religion as long as it does not infringe on the rights of anyone else. He says not just the LDS Church, it's any religion. I don't think anyone is in favor of smoking whole plant marijuana in apartments. Who is? Well, a lot of people are. But whether or not that's a matter that landlords can do something about, like I said, that's a court battle that's still to come. Here's my favorite quote from this dude. I'm a Christian. I'm against this. I'm against marijuana. I'm against whole plant marijuana. I'm not against extracts such as CBD oil that may help people for the FDA-approved marijuana products. So this guy, he's not against extracts such as CBD oil, but he is against whole plant marijuana, therefore it must be illegal. That's the leap that I have the problem with. There's a huge chasm there. There's a huge canyon between I don't like this and it should be illegal. That's the problem. That is not the way it works. I am a Christian and I'm against this. I'm against marijuana. I'm against whole plant marijuana. Pardon my French, but who gives a crap? Who gives a crap if Walter Plum III is against whole plant marijuana? I don't care. It's irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant to whether or not people get access to medical marijuana, whether or not this guy likes it, whether he's a Christian or a Muslim or an atheist or an agnostic, or he likes the spaghetti monster thing that people always talk about. Scientologist even. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he's against. It doesn't matter if he's for some and he's against other things. He's not against some things. It doesn't matter. If medical marijuana patients are not infringing on the rights of anyone else, then they are not doing anything wrong. Again, whether or not they're infringing on a landlord's rights, using smoking marijuana on their property, again, I'm not a legal scholar. I have no idea how that's going to turn out. I don't know how big of a battle it is going to be, but it seems like it's going to be a battle, especially if medical marijuana passes in Utah. But a very just incredible amount of opposition to the Utah medical marijuana ballot. And maybe it's a religious thing, because a lot of it's been driven by the Mormon Church and offshoots or people who've been approved by the Mormon Church. I don't know. I'm assuming this guy is very much approved by the Mormon Church. And it's weird. Incredible amount of opposition. Last story from MarijuanaMoment.net. Marijuana Policy Project welcomes a new executive director. As they point out, the MPP is the nation's best-funded cannabis advocacy group. And it's named social justice reform advocate Steve Hawkins as its next executive director. Hawkins has previously served as the executive director of the National Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty and executive vice president of the NAACP. He will assume responsibility for MPP's national legalization advocacy efforts just months before a number of states vote to enact their own legal systems. It's a very opportune time to get involved. Hawkins told Marijuana Amendment, quote, "We are still battling the effects of decades of anti-marijuana legislation and propaganda in this country. Huge strides have been made when it comes to setting the record straight, but our work is far from over, and there's still a lot of misinformation out there that needs to be addressed. He goes on to say that basically, a lot of people think legalization is inevitable, and that is not the case. We have to fight more now than ever to make sure isn't inevitable. Legalization is only inevitable because of the people who back it and push it, and we know that we're going to continue to do so. That's what makes it inevitable. But you can't sit on your hands and say, well, I don't need to contact this senator, I don't need to post this story, I don't need to share this story. You do. It's all still very important. So Steve Hawkins running the MPP now. We'll see in November how, he'll be judged a lot of his success will be judged on how MPP backed initiatives, wherever they may be, do in November. He said, I also believe it is critical we ensure those populations that were so negatively impacted by a prohibition are able to participate in and experience the positive impacts of such a regulated system. Of course, Hawkins succeeds Rob Campia, who late last year left the organization he founded in 1995 to start a for-profit cannabis policy consulting firm called Marijuana Leadership Campaign. Of course, there was also sexual harassment and sexual misconduct allegations surrounding Campia and his reign as executive director at MPP. Hopefully, Mr. Hawkins' reign is more drama-free, or less drama-ish. It's not a word. Well, let's hope there's less trauma. We can focus on getting good legislation passed and continue to tear down the walls of marijuana prohibition. We'll continue to do our part here. It's the end of another week here at Cannabis News. Go have a great weekend. You all are awesome. Thank you to nature-side.com, their organic all-natural pesticides. Make sure you check us out at marijuanatimes.org. Click that video tab. Subscribe on YouTube and Vimeo and, of course, Apple Podcasts as well for the audio-only version of the show. Thank you for spreading the truth about cannabis with this show and continuing to make the show more popular. We're gaining a lot of subscribers, especially on YouTube. Keep up the good work. I'll do my part here. You do your part there. And both of our parts together will be a tremendous asset to the marijuana law reform community and getting things going in our capacity as we spread information and news and, of course, my opinions on things, which is really the focus of the show. But that's okay, because I have great opinions, tremendous, fantastic opinions. That's going to do it for this episode of Cannabis News. Thank you for watching and listening and spreading the news and spreading the truth, as I said. And we'll see you next time, next week, on Cannabis News.